Hey, good morning, team. It is Tuesday, November 7th. I'm Amy Corr, and I'm here with Kevin Van Eck, and we are live out of the Goose Island office. So it's exactly 1 week from when we all received the information about the verdict regarding the NAR lawsuit, right?
That's right.
And so we thought it only appropriate today to maybe touch on that and just talk about some of the things we can be thinking about as we're moving forward every day in practice. So on that note, we hope you have a cup of warm coffee because we're going to get into the next episode of Coffee with Amy and Kevin.
That's right. Good morning. Good morning, Amy. Thank you so much for joining us today. Yes, we're talking about the trial verdict that came out. Here's the thing. It's going to be a long road. This is a marathon, not a sprint. There's going to be, we already see appeals. There was another lawsuit filed immediately following the verdict. There's a lot going on. So there's nothing that's going to change immediately or really quickly, although there are some things we're going to talk about today, our initial thoughts and ways that you can maybe prepare yourself or change your perspective. And we do want to highlight that through all of this, make sure you're in close contact with your managing broker and leadership at your brokerage. They're providing leadership for you and really specific to your local market, your state, your boards, your associations, etc. So stay in close contact with them because they're going to be the best source of information for you as it relates to you and your market.
Yeah, and I think this is real time for all of us, right? So every one of your managing brokers and companies, we are all trying to figure out how can we make sure that we are protecting you as our real estate agents, but also making sure that we're protecting the consumer and communicating clearly to them as well. So again, I think I can't emphasize enough that I think we all feel like we're all in this together. So I think what I just want to emphasize is the idea to really kind of stay calm, because I think the initial reaction and some of the things that Kevin and I heard in the first few days was a bit of panic. What do we do now? How do we react to our clients? What are the things we should and shouldn't be saying? All extremely valid questions and concerns. But I think we want to also make sure that we don't panic and that we do realize that let's kind of take a deep breath and we will get ourselves through this. I think the most important thing we can recognize is that a lot of this came about because it's the idea of making sure that the consumer is protected and there's transparency. And so I think that is going to be the mindset that continues. But in the meantime, what I also think we should be looking at is where is there opportunity in this, right? I think all of us collectively, we should be figuring out what can I be doing better when I'm in conversation with my clients? What are some of the things that I can be doing to make sure that I am learning everything that I need to about how to operate, but also I think in a bigger whole, there might be all new opportunities that we can't even see right here, right now on November 7th that might change our industry for the better. So, we can come at this from a lens of doom and gloom, but I also think right now, let's be open to seeing how this is going to play out. And let's as individuals, figure out where is there opportunity for me maybe to improve my business through all of this. Because as Kevin said earlier, this is real time and it's going to be a long road. There's going to be a lot more that's coming out, I think, over the next weeks and months. And, we've even heard that it might be years before this truly gets settled. So we're going to have to get comfortable being kind of in a place of limbo and learning how to really communicate and being honest and a trusted advisor to our clients, because I think you can never go wrong when that is the avenue that you're focusing on, is making sure you're supporting your clients and the consumer through all of this.
That's right. Focus on clarity and transparency. So the second thing we want to talk about, in addition to staying calm, which I understand can be difficult when you get 64 emails from Inman with a trial update every day. So here, the second piece, the opportunity that you're talking about, Amy, one of them is to really work on our value and being able to communicate it. A lot of us aren't really good at communicating it. Some of us are better at it with listings because it's a little bit more tangible. Some of us aren't that great in dictating or being able to articulate our value when it comes to buyers and why a buyer would hire us to represent them. This is a time to hone in on that. And even something as simple as making a list of what makes you different, all of the steps, all of the touch points where you work with buyers and sellers, everything you do to make sure that they get to where they want to go. And the commission conversation, which comes up in Ninja Selling, it's in a class that we teach called Getting What You're Worth. Oftentimes, a seller or a buyer might be focused on the commission percentage rather than the actual net result of the success that you can create. And so there are dialogues around that. If you can practice really focusing on the net, being transparent about the commission, but talking about how you over another agent or a competitor create a better result with a higher net at the end, that's going to be a win in taking everything from your value all the way down to the bottom line for those clients.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's so important. And, the other thing to note is that we, are really working on the language, because I know for a lot of us out there, it's like, ooh, but I just want those right words. How should I say this? How do I make sure I'm articulating this clearly? Please know that that's stuff that we are working on. But like anything, it takes a little bit of time to make sure that we get that stuff to you. But it doesn't mean that you can't start, to Kevin's point, outlining, what is my value when it comes to working with a seller, and what is my value when it comes to working with a buyer, and really writing that down and being able to articulate that clearly. Because, the thing that I want to point out, probably the last thing, is that buyers and sellers, the majority of them still want representation. Most people out there recognize that when it comes to buying or selling a home, it's a lot, and they aren't the expert, and they don't know all of the details, especially in a lot of these markets now where, sometimes we think that sellers say, how hard is it to sell a home? But actually, some are really overwhelmed with the idea that there might be a lot of activity, and I don't know who to pick moving forward, and I don't know what's going to be the best choice for us at the end of the day to get to the finish line. And then the same with buyers, if they're in a competitive space. Trying to do that alone is not so easy. So I know that this information is out there, and look, we know that a lot of clients are starting to ask questions. And you know what? That's okay if they're asking questions. It doesn't mean that they're not going to be willing to pay a commission. They just want to understand. So, that again is about you getting comfortable with what your value is so that you can explain what it is you do to truly help them, whether it's selling or buying. I would say the majority are still going to want to work with an agent and are going to be willing to pay for your fee or for your service if they can really understand what you're bringing to the table. Right?
Agreed.
And the thing too is, yes, are there also those clients out there that may push and ask questions and may choose to or say that they don't want to pay? Of course. But I don't think that those people are suddenly brand new. Let's face it, there's always those clients out there that have always been sort of pushing that envelope where the fee or the commission has always been something for them that is a yes or no point. So we just need to know that they're still out there, and that then becomes a business decision for you as to whether or not you even want to take that on. The last thing I'm going to say, though, is that right now is a great opportunity to get comfortable with the exclusive buyer-broker agreement.
Yes.
Now, I know it varies across, different markets, different brokerages as to how often agents are using it. In some places it's required. In other places people use it quite often. And I know in some markets people barely use it at all, right? And maybe it's a formality to close out a deal. But right now I would get really comfortable with figuring out how am I going to incorporate that into my practice when I am working with buyers so that I can have that conversation about representation and compensation and what that looks like. The sooner that you get comfortable with that, the more you're going to be able to protect yourself. You're going to get comfortable with some of these changes. Yes. And I bet you'd be surprised how more willing a consumer will be to want to engage and entertain the idea of you getting paid for the work that you're doing. It's oftentimes us getting comfortable with that messaging. So those are some of the things we want you to think about right now as we all kind of are riding the next few weeks to see what's happening.
That's right. So we ask for patience with us and with your leadership as well. As Amy mentioned at the beginning, this is developing. So as the days and weeks go on, there's going to be more that comes to light and more we're able to share. So please have that patience with your leadership teams, with us, but trust that as we roll and determine what we can share and the dialogues that Amy's talking about, we'll share them here.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is that we're all in this together. So we hope this was helpful. Make it a great Tuesday. Have a great week. And until we see you next time, remember, you got this.